Let's talk about the roots of people pleasing. This is going to explain to you why you constantly put yourself last and everyone else first. This is going to explain to you why you overextend yourself. This is going to explain to you why you feel like a doormat, or why you're feeling overwhelmed, or why you feel like you keep banging your head up against the wall, getting nowhere while everybody else seems to be getting further ahead. And it all has to do with what we call please and appease tendencies. If you're new to me, I'm Dan Candell. I'm known worldwide as the Anxiety Relief Guy, and welcome to the conversation. If you're not new to me, welcome back. My energy is a little low today. I just got off a plane from Las Vegas, and I was speaking at a conference, and then I went and I did another presentation last night in front of 250 people. I woke up this morning and I'm like, I feel like I should pump the brakes today. So that's why I'm shooting this video, because I absolutely love recording videos and it helps me get on track. So the roots of people pleasing. While I was speaking in Las Vegas, I was presenting at a conference, and people knew I was going to be doing a crash course coming up all about getting off the people-pleasing struggle bus. A person asked me, how do I know if I'm a people pleaser? And I'm like, that's a great question. And I asked him, I said, do you feel like you're constantly putting everybody else's needs ahead of your own? He said, yes. I said, do you feel as if people don't respect your boundaries? He said, yes. I said, do you just agree to things to avoid conflict and confrontation? He said, yes. I said, do you get burnt out very easily? He said, yes. I said, do you get frustrated and resentful towards other people and then disappointed with yourself? He said, yes. I said, do you feel guilty if someone asks you, do you a favor, and you can't do that favor for them? He said, yes. So all of these things are chronic people-pleasing tendencies and patterns. Now, here's the thing, though. People actually go really far in life with people-pleasing tendencies, or what you call please and appease syndrome. People get really far in life with that, and it works for them until it doesn't work anymore. And what usually happens is people hide behind the identity of a people pleaser. What happens is people also lose their identity and they don't know exactly who they are outside of being a people pleaser, and outside of doing nice things for everyone, and outside of being Mr. Nice Guy or Mrs. Nice Girl. So this actually goes way, 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 way back to how we were conditioned. And it's really important for you to know, because people-pleasing patterns and tendencies are actually celebrated across families, across cultures, across religious institutions and different religions, and people-pleasing tendencies are even celebrated in work culture. You may have heard this before. The early bird gets the worm, or the people who are overachievers and who are doing more work than everybody else rises to the top a lot faster. And guess what? That's not always true. The hardest worker doesn't always get to the top faster. It's the smartest worker. And people-pleasing tendencies are not smart patterns to have. And whenever I work with someone who's a chronic people pleaser, one of the first questions I ask them is, who were you taking care of when you were younger? And people-pleasing tendencies are really common for people who grew up with families who struggled with addiction, alcoholism, broken families, chaotic families, even really big families where they may have been the caretaker for other siblings. And it's always like, oh, just ask that person. They'll take care of it. Just ask that person. And you feel like the weight of the world is pressing down on your shoulders. Like I said, the thing is with people who please and appease, they make it pretty far in life to a certain extent, but things seem so challenging. There's a lot of resistance. They doubt themselves. They question every decision they make. They feel like a frickin' doormat. It's hard for them to make the decisions that they need to make, those executive decisions, because people who please and appease, they are afraid of being criticized. They're afraid of conflict, and they're afraid of being perceived as a major a-hole. And of course, guess what? When you're used to being Mr. Nice Guy or Miss Nice Girl or the nice person all the time, and you're used to doing everything for everybody, and then all of a sudden you make a switch, there are going to be people who perceive you as a massive a-hole. And like, they changed. They're not the person that they used to be. But guess what? The people who say that, those are the people who only knew you as the chronic people pleaser, as the go-to person to take care of every single one of their needs, wants, and desires. But guess what? Like I said, these patterns and tendencies, they go all the way back to being celebrated in cultures, in families, in religions, and in the workplace. So these patterns are very common in certain family cultures because we were always taught, like, you have to be nice to people. We're always taught you have to do nice things to people, because if you don't, and this is where that fear comes in, if we don't please and appease, we have this subconscious fear that we're going to be abandoned or that people aren't going to like us, so we're going to be alone. But putting yourself first in the form of self-care isn't selfish. And we have this misconception of what selfish is. We look at selfish as being a bad thing. We look at selfish as being a bad trait. And there are some people that we look at, and it's like they're up here, but then we think like, oh wow, they're really, really selfish. They don't help out a lot of people. They don't give to a lot of people. But that's the perception. But guess what? They're not selfish. They just have good boundaries. They have really good boundaries. I have a lot of friends who are not people pleasers. They're very kind, they're very caring, but they're not people pleasers. And I myself am a reformed people pleaser. I used to say yes to absolutely everything. I would get burnt out and exhausted really fast. And then I started living my truth, and I started setting better boundaries. And I started associating with other people who respect those boundaries, and the people who don't respect those boundaries, guess what happened? We're not as close anymore. Now, it's hard because sometimes these people are family or close family. Sometimes they're spouses. But even relationships are sometimes built on this false identity. They're built on the foundation of you as a people pleaser. Some people get promotions, or excuse me, I should say some people don't get promotions. In fact, I know somebody very close to me who's like this, where this person should have been promoted over and over and over and over again. But this person's manager thinks, oh, if I promote this person, then they're not going to take all the jobs that I give them. And if we hire another person, put them in this person's position, that other person, what if they don't fulfill all the responsibilities if somebody slacks off? This person who's very close to me takes over a lot of other people's jobs, a lot of other people's responsibilities, and guess what happens at the end of the week? Burnout. And then it's like resentment towards other people. And this is where we need to set firm boundaries. And guess what happens? Other people in that organization get promoted before this person does because they have better boundaries. And so when you have better boundaries, it gives you better opportunities because you're not constantly grinding your gears trying to do everything for everybody else. So the roots in people pleasing stem back from what we were taught as children, how we were raised, also what we saw. And if we had to take care of parents, or even if there was sickness or illness or even mental illness in our family and we defaulted as a caretaker, guess what happens? That becomes generalized, and our subconscious mind thinks, wow, in order to be in relationships, in order to have people around us, we have to please and appease. We have to put everybody else's needs before us. We have to constantly be nice to everybody. And we can't have boundaries because if we tell someone no, they're not going to like us and then we'll feel abandoned. So these are some of the roots of people pleasing. And it's really, really important that we work through some of this. So you might be wondering, okay, how do I help people through people-pleasing tendencies? And that's what I'm going to be doing in a crash course I have coming up. I'm doing a crash course on Tuesday, July 30th, and there will be replays available only for the people who sign up. And this crash course is going to be all about how to get off the people-pleaser struggle bus. And I'm going to give you a solid foundation that you can start building upon. Because here's the thing, though. A lot of people think, oh, if I automatically switch, like do a 180-degree turn, people won't recognize me anymore, and I'm going to lose everybody and everything. But it's not about making that, it's not about making that, I slapped myself in the fucking face. It's not about making that 180-degree turn. It's about making progressive changes that over the course of time are going to set you on a different trajectory so you can start attracting better people, so you can really get a firm grasp on who you are outside of people pleasing. And so that way you can command respect. So that way you don't feel like a doormat. And so that way you don't build resentment against people or disappointment or guilt within yourself. So keep in mind, if you could trace some of these tendencies back, where do you think they started with you? Where do you think they started with you? Do you think they started if you had addiction in your family, or was there a sick family member, or did you have a big family and you were caretaker of some of those people? Uh, was it celebrated in your religion? Was it celebrated in your work culture? Where in your life have people pleasing tendencies been reinforced? Where in your life have they been reinforced? Once you figure that out, then we can start doing some of the deeper inner work that we need to do in order for you to progressively make those adjustments so you can set better boundaries, so you can stand on your own 2 feet, you can hold your own, and you can just be even better at what you do. So that way you're no longer squandered in that deep shell of people pleasing. I'd love to work with you on this. And I have a lot of, I would say most of my clients struggle with people pleasing on some level. And what we want to do, I know it's hard for you to say yes to something that can help you. But I always make a joke with people who struggle with people pleasing. You say yes to everyone else and everything else, so you have to say yes to this too. No, but make this the one thing you say yes to for yourself, to be there for yourself. And this crash course is going to be about 3 hours long. You do get a replay if you sign up prior to the crash course. If you sign up after, the price drastically increases. So you want to make sure that you sign up before, and the link is below this video. I hope you've learned something today and you discovered a little something about yourself. I'll be posting a lot more content about this. As always, be well, do good, be true to who you are, and happy healing.